Hi, welcome back to Walking in Love. I'm Melissa Whitkey. Thanks for joining me today. I'm continuing on this idea of let's get practical. Let's talk about things that are holding us back from walking on the path that God has for us. And I want to really get practical. I want to talk to you honestly and openly about something that most women my age probably deal with: how we look. Let's talk about these changes we're seeing in our face and in our body. Let's talk about the idea of becoming invisible. Have you ever thought about that? I told my husband recently that what I've noticed in my life, because when I was younger, I used to get a lot of attention for how I looked. And as we get to middle age and beyond, we somewhat become invisible. And it's really hard. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? Again, I'm 55 years old, and I have to tell you that is hard for me sometimes to not get the attention that I used to get, or not get people looking at me. And my husband said the same thing. He said once I mentioned that idea of becoming invisible, that he started thinking about it in his own life. But he said to me recently, he goes, I truly am invisible. He said, when I was younger, women used to look at me all the time. He goes, I had women, basically, looking at me and smiling at me and talking to me. And he goes, and now I walk down the hallway to work and people just, I truly am invisible. What do we do with that? Because God willing, we will all age. And we don't want to get to this point in our life. The point where we have, and what the irony of all this is the point in our life where we have we start to understand what life is meant to be. We start to understand what's available to us, right? But now we're no longer, looking the same as we did in our 20s and 30s or even our 40s, right? I have to tell you, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say, that there's been times where I haven't done videos because I don't like the way I look. And it still is hard for me to look at myself on these videos now because my face doesn't look like it did when I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s. But I'm not going to let that stop me, because there's so many beautiful things about aging that we need to hold on to and we need to grab hold of. And we need to share with the world that when you get to a certain age, just because your face doesn't look like it used to, and maybe we're not going to grace the covers of magazines like we could have in our 20s, doesn't mean we don't have something important to bring to the world. I think it's kind of shameful what happens in the culture in the United States, especially today. People as they age are not respected and honored in a way that I believe that they should be. Other countries do it really well. Our country, I think, does not. And I think we need to change that. We need to shake that up. We need to let people know that when you're in middle age and beyond, you have a lot of value. You have a lot of things that you can bring to the table, a lot of things that you can share and learn and teach. And I think this is the time of our life where we have, we've raised our children and we're starting now to say, okay, God, what's next? What do you want me to do with my life? And I've learned so much, and I have so much more to offer to the world. But it's funny that the world can discount you because of your age or the way you look. And I think that's sad. But I think we have an opportunity to change that. And I'm also not going to let it stop me. I'm going to be the best that I can be at this point in my life. And I think we all need to do that. We need to encourage each other. And I think there's not enough encouragement today. I think we need to, get together and build each other up. Remember, every time we see someone, speak to someone, we have an opportunity. Are you leaving that person better off or not? And I think we always should do that. We always should look to encourage each other and to build people up and to leave them better off than before they spoke to us or encountered us on their path. But it is hard. It is hard to look in the mirror and to see your face changing, to see wrinkles where there weren't wrinkles before. And I talked about in my last video, talking about how our physical body, it gets harder and harder to keep our body toned and in shape. And that's something I'm working on. I decided I'm going to really push myself this year to see where I can take myself, because that's important to me. That's something that I feel like I have control of, something that I can do. So I'm really pushing myself, and I'm doing it in a way that feels good for me. I think one thing that middle age, a blessing of middle age, is we stop listening to what the world says. So I said to my husband, I said, there's something good about being invisible, if there is something. And that's I'm no longer worried about, what people think and who's looking at me and what, who's noticing me or whatever. When you're young, you really are so focused on, looking perfect, and you want to be noticed. And, okay, so, but now at this point in my life, I want to be noticed for what I'm doing to help other people. I want to be noticed for, I want people to remember me as someone who always encouraged them, or when they had an interaction with me that they left feeling better off. I want to leave people with good emotions and to feel good about themselves. And I can do that now, and I know more ways of doing that. I had a conversation with a friend who I went back to Tai Chi yesterday, and I spoke to this man that I'd done Tai Chi with, and we spent quite a bit of time. He has a new grandson, and we started talking about the advantages of this time in our life, where what you can do with your grandkids that you didn't do with your kids. When you have kids, when you're a young parent, you feel like you're just running. You're like on this treadmill. You're like, you have young kids and you're not getting enough sleep, and you're working and you're balancing and you're trying to figure everything out. And you just, you hope you enjoyed it. And I believe I did, but I also feel like I kind of just bolted by. It was kind of like it's, but when you have grandchildren, I guess you have more time to kind of really focus, and, you're less concerned with other areas of your life. And so now you can really focus on them, or that's what I've heard. I don't have any grandchildren yet, but I'm so excited and looking forward to it. But we also talked about, at this point in our life, how we start picking our heads up and kind of looking around and seeing what's available to us to learn. He was talking about how he's always had an interest in astronomy, and now he's got a new focus on it again. And, I was talking about some areas of my life that I'm, starting to focus on and I want to learn more about. And the older I get, the more humble I get too. And that's something that God wants us to do. Humility is huge. We're supposed to be humble. And so I realize how little I know about anything. It's funny. The more you learn, the more I really feel like the more you realize there is to learn. I realize this in Kung Fu. People always say a black belt. Wow, you got your black belt. When you become a black belt in Kung Fu or any martial art, what you realize is that's just another launching point. And when you get to that level of mastering something, your eyes are opened up to how much more there is to learn, and how little you really truly do know. When you're first on a path and you're going belt after belt, whatever, you're kind of just kind of focused on the black belt. But once you get to a black belt, you're like, wow, what separates me from a master is light years away. It's crazy. And I feel like that's how life is too. But what I want you to do is there are things about aging that are tough. And we should always talk about them, and we should be encouraging to each other, and we should support each other, because it is hard. It is hard to watch your body change. It is hard to watch your face change. It is hard not to be noticed in the same way that you used to be noticed in. And, people who, I used to get a lot of attention when I was younger from men and other people, and people would just, I don't know, people just gravitated to you because of the way you're, physically looked. And that's changes as you get older. But I want you to know that I'm here and I'm going through it with you, and it's okay. And there's magical and beautiful things about getting older too. And we need to find those and hold on to them and enjoy every second of life. Enjoy every second that's available to you. I told the story in one of my videos about my mom, who loved to swim and loved to go to the beach, but as she got older, she was so embarrassed of her body that she wouldn't go. She wouldn't put a bathing suit on. And I promised myself I couldn't get her to go. And she needed it. She would have loved it. It would have felt so good on her body to be in the water. She loved swimming, and she loved the beach, and she loved the sun, but she was so ashamed of her body. And my mother, weighed 100 pounds soaking wet. She was this little tiny thing, thin, but she just didn't feel like her body looked good. And I thought it was so sad. And I promised myself that no matter what, I was going to love myself at every age, at every moment I could. And believe me, there's times, as I said, there's days I chose not to do videos because my hair looked terrible, my face looked terrible, I've got wrinkles, I've got this. But you know what? I can love myself or not. And that's like everything else in life. You can choose what's good in each situation or not. It's up to you. You get to define what your life stands for. You get to define how you think. You get to define how you feel about yourself. Remember, you're a child of the Most High God. You're here for a reason. If you're still breathing, you have something to give. You have something to bless people with. That's what we're here for. That's the lessons I think that midlife woke me up to. I didn't understand until the middle of my life that I was here for a purpose. I always felt it, but I didn't really understand it was God calling me forward. And as long as I'm here, I want to do things to bless people. I want to do things that encourage other people. I want to do things that make the world better. That's what we're all here for. Did you know that? Have you bought into that? Are you ready to walk forward on God's path, knowing that whatever you have to give is needed in the world? Don't let things like how we look stop us, or things we don't like about ourselves. I look in the mirror now and I focus on the things that I do like about myself. And I focus on what I like inside of myself. It's not always my physical appearance that I focus on. You know, I always try to look my best and do my best, but I'm aging and my face is changing and my body's changing, and I can work with that, or I can let it work against me and stop me. Don't let it stop you. Don't use anything in your life don't let anything that's beyond your control stop you. Think about it. We can't stop aging. We can do our best. Believe me, I take all sorts of supplements. I eat well. I eat, try to get all these natural greens into my body. My son has me taking these athletic greens, and it's wonderful. I think it's great. I feel like my gut bacteria is back in line the way it's supposed to be. I go to, integrative physician, so I'm always looking at, the balance in my body and all of these things. Do everything you can, but you can't stop your body from aging. You can do your best to work with it. You can age gracefully. We have that choice, but you can't stop your body from aging. So it's out of your control. Don't let anything out of your control stop you. As long as we have and think about it, the only thing that we actually can control is our thinking, our thoughts. That's the one thing that we can control. We can't control our bodies. I can't stop my hair from turning gray. I can't stop wrinkles from forming. I can work to prevent them in every way. I can use skincare. I can do facial exercises. I can do, whatever I can do. I can work my physical body. But you know what? No matter how much I work out my body, it doesn't look like it did when I was 20. I will be the best I can at every age. That's what I've committed to myself. I want to be the best me I can at every age. As long as God has me here, I have a choice to be my best. I have a choice to be better. I have a choice to encourage you. I have a choice to show up here. I have a choice to show up for myself each day and do the best that I'm capable of. And I want you to do that. I want everybody to do that. And especially women, we're really hard on ourselves. And I think as we age, it's even harder. I don't know about you, but I've been hard on myself all of my life. I have worried about how I look and oh goodness, I've spent way too much time in my life worrying about how I look. And this is a time of my life, like I said, it is hard, isn't it? To look in the mirror and see things, ooh, wow, okay, maybe if I had a lift up here, and ooh, I like my eyes, who doesn't do that? What woman doesn't do that? We all do, right? I remember my grandmother. I loved my grandmother. She was such an amazing woman. But she had cataract surgery, and I called her up and said, Graham, how did it go? And she said, oh, it went great. She says, but when I looked in the mirror, I'm like, who is this old lady staring back at me? Because now she could see herself even better. But she had a sense of humor about it. And shouldn't we? Shouldn't we have a sense of humor about it? This is, you know what? This is how I look at 55. This is how God has me. So I am perfect as He intended me to be. This is how He wanted me to look at 55. And so whatever age you are, you have the opportunity to accept yourself, to be the best version of yourself, to not compare yourself to anyone else, to encourage other people around you who may not be feeling as good about themselves as you choose to. Again, everything's a choice for us, right? I want you to be the best version of yourself at every moment you can, at every chapter of your life, at every age, every season of life, right? And we have that choice. The world will try to drag you down a little bit. So we need to encourage each other. We need to help everyone on our path, encourage them, help them to be the best version of themselves. Give them ideas. Share what you do. You know, let's help each other. I think we're so competitive. That's another thing that, you know, I can talk hours about. I mean, we're so competitive with each other. We look at other people's lives and instead of feeling happy that they're achieving things, oftentimes we have the opportunity to feel jealous. I've had to work on that in my life. I could easily feel jealous because I've had a lot of my life where I haven't felt great about myself. And that's sad. But you know what I do now? I realize I don't have to feel good about myself. What God wants me to do is feel good about God who lives in me and to embrace, you know, where God wants me to go. And I don't need to feel good about Melissa. I feel good about Melissa letting God flow through her. And that's what I want for you. And that's what God wants for each one of us. We're a vessel for God to work through. Did you know that? We're all broken vessels, by the way. I certainly am. But with God, all things are possible. With God, you can do what he wants you to do. With God, you can encourage people and bless people and help people on their path. You can do anything with God that he wants you to do. So today, I just want you to learn to love yourself, because a lot of times what's holding us back is that we don't feel good about ourselves. And again, as a woman, we're very hard on ourselves. It's easy to look at all the supermodels in the world that, you know, they do. There's beautiful people at every age. There's beautiful people. But you know what? You're beautiful. And what matters as we age more than our physical appearance is who we are inside. And that should be at every age. But as we get older, focus on the beauty that's inside of you. Focus on, you know, being your best on the outside and the inside. Do you know what I really believe that maturity is? Is when the inside matches the outside. When we start to show externally who we are to the world without excuses. You know, we actually authentically walk and are comfortable in our own skin. I can't tell you how many years I have been uncomfortable with who I was. But through God, with God, I'm starting to find myself unapologetically. I no longer apologize for being me, because I've done that in my life. I've kind of always never felt like I fit in. But I no longer have to do that. And maybe it is this age. Maybe it's like because I no longer care. Maybe it's because people aren't looking at me like they used to. Maybe it is. Maybe there's great things that happen in midlife. It all depends on how we look at it. Don't let anything, again, that you can't control stop you from being the best version of yourself. I'm not supposed to look like anybody else. I'm not supposed to act like anyone else. I'm not supposed to try to do what other people are doing. I'm supposed to be me. This is who I am. This is the best that I have today, and I'm proud of myself, and I'm working on myself, and every day I try to be better. And I want the inside of me to match the outside. I want people who look at me to see this light, to see the love of God, to see someone who's passionate about helping other people. That's what matters. You know, you can have the most beautiful person on the outside, and if they're not beautiful on the inside, then they're missing the gifts that God has given them. We need to use everything we have to serve each other in love. So I'm hoping that this helped you. I'm hoping that it encouraged you, that I'm sharing, you know, what's held me back in my life, what's hard for me, because I know I'm not alone. And you know, this aging thing, there's a lot of wonderful things about aging. And believe me, I don't want to change any of it. I don't want to miss one single second of the lifespan that God has given me. But, you know, we have to accept who we are along the way. Again, you know, our faces change, our bodies change. Accept yourself, love yourself. Don't hold back any part of yourself because you don't look like you used to, because maybe, you know, people don't look at you. Maybe you are invisible. But we also have the opportunity to change that too. Start noticing people. Start noticing women your age, right? Women are not really good at encouraging other women. So I try to notice everyone. I try to encourage people. I try to notice something and make the person before me smile. I try to notice, you know, whether it's their nails, their hair, their earrings, their smile, their kind words, or whatever. You always have an opportunity to encourage somebody. So I encourage you to do that too. Accept yourself. You're beautiful. You're wonderful, and you're perfect the way God intended you to be. Have a great day, and I look forward to sharing with you next time. God bless.